We're gonna fudge our way through it, and that's what we're gonna do.
Okay.
The following announcement has been paid for by the
Hey, this is JV, and welcome to the Elite Mark Order podcast. Today we are reviewing AEW Dynamite episode 201 from Columbus, Ohio, and this will be podcast number 32. I am joined here tonight with Cosmic Scott. Scott, how you doing?
I am fantastic. I've still got a PhD in THC, the Doctor of Cosmic Scott, so, as long as I can get that rhyme out, I'm feeling good about myself. It's Friday night, and we're super late on recording this, and it doesn't matter because we're still getting it out. So, congratulations to us for getting this shit done on a crazy, crazy week.
That's right. We are keeping this going, and we don't want to miss a week. We want to keep this going. And much more to come with the Elite Mark Order.
It's like people who say that they go to the gym even when they don't feel like it. Even though we may not mentally have been 100% prepared, we are here. We are going to give 100%, and we are not going to half-ass a match like perhaps some of the people that we may have watched. We'll have to see whether or not that comes up in a review as we're talking. Probably not.
All right.
You never know.
All right. So the show opened with everyone was greatly anticipating the JAS mandatory meeting. So Daddy Magic welcomes Chris Jericho, and we get to listen to Judas on My Mind and the crowd singing along for the millionth time. Scott, are you tired of hearing the crowd sing Judas? Do you still think we should have to sit through that every week for 2 minutes?
So here's the thing. If the crowd actually enjoys it, when you went, did you sing it?
I mean, like, when it was first a thing, but not more recently. I'm, like, looking at my phone during it at this point.
Okay. So the rest of the crowd seems to still be in it. I mean, there's at least a good 80%, maybe not 100 anymore. There was a time when it was loud as hell. But you're right. I think maybe it's gone on a little bit, especially since he's a heel. You can't sing along with a heel, even though they did forever with the Inner Circle and everything else. I think you're right. I think it's time to get rid of Judas. They're getting rid of the JAS. His entrance video only showed him and Callis, so obviously that was a giveaway. I just think, move on, get a new theme, come up with something else. Fozzy is Fozzy, and you know what? You probably haven't toured for a long-ass time or recorded a video in a long-ass time. Get over it, and, you're a wrestler or a rock star. Choose one. That's all I'm saying.
He's a rock star, and that's great. And I think that's awesome. And I think he should just move on from Judas to another song. I mean, he's got a whole library of songs.
Yeah.
Let's pick another one. Let's keep things fresh. I mean, that's why an artist released a single, they release more than one single. You could do the same thing with Jericho's theme song. Let's move on.
Okay.
So I don't want to get into the
minutia
details of. Yeah. So probably the only thing that I thought was really notable here was Jake Hager saying that he loved the hat. He definitely got a pop from the crowd when he was talking about the hat.
Yeah.
And I thought that was cool. As for the rest of the crew walking out, no big deal. It was what we expected. So Sammy was the last one left. I thought Sammy was cool about it. He had on the Inner Circle original vest that he used to wear, and which was a nice tribute to how Jericho helped Sammy earlier in his career.
Yeah.
And, the late Sex Gods have given us a lot of fun tag matches.
True.
And a lot of great memories, but it's time to move on. And
here's the thing. As far as everybody having their say, it got really repetitive. I mean, Tay and Anna Jay could basically have just said the same thing. They really kind of did. 2.0, Parker and Menard didn't say much beyond "you let us down, it's all about you." I think Daniel Garcia with his little dance got a huge pop from that. And that showed he had that sports entertainment side that he picked up as a Jericho mentee. But now he's moved past Jericho. He's getting a pop on his own. He doesn't need Jericho anymore. So I think that was relevant. I think Sammy really had the most history that was relevant, none of the rest really mattered. And they could have just skipped right on over it or just gone ditto or me too. Yeah, Jack Hager got a pop and that was cool. But realistically, this entire segment kind of dragged. We all knew it was coming. We all knew what was going to happen. And they just kind of went through the motions. It didn't really feel dramatic. I wasn't really invested.
I don't think anyone's really invested in the crumbling of the JAS because the JAS hasn't been a thing for months. I mean, when you send Parker and Menard out there and they're jobbing in matches in 30 seconds on TV and they're not taken seriously as performers, how are you supposed to take the faction seriously?
Well, they are valets. They're valets for Anna Jay.
I mean, I guess, but it's like
that's not a good spot for guys. Yeah.
No, it's not. It's not. So people, I just don't think there's very many people invested in Parker or Menard or Anna Jay who just bails on factions with no storyline behind her leaving. And then Ty is, she's pregnant, so she's not going to be doing much on TV anyways.
For a while, yeah.
Yeah, so the only thing of any relevance here was Garcia and Sammy, but I think I've said more than I want to on this segment. So. Next week, Jericho is going to announce whether he's going to join Callis or not, and that'll take up another 15 minutes of the show. Meanwhile, Kenny and the Bucks aren't allowed to talk or have anything have any time live with the mic on.
Hey, TV. No, they got to say something this week. They got to say All In.
I know. Yeah,
that's coming up. That. Yeah.
That was my highlight of the show.
Was it really the spot of the week for you?
I think that was my spot of the week. It's the Young Bucks on the mic. It doesn't happen very often, folks.
There you go. You know what? That deserves a replay. The Young Bucks are the spot of the week for getting on the mic with 2 words. So
up next we had... Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so what about that match?
Up next we had the Young Bucks versus the Hardys. And, 2 legends here, 2 of the greatest teams in professional wrestling
2 of the best brothers. Brother teams.
Yeah, 2 of the best brother tag teams, yeah. I'm not going to say that they're, that either of them are better than the Steiners, but 2 legendary teams here. I think both these teams actually accomplished more than the Steiners did, but if you put either of these teams up against prime Steiners,
here's the thing.
Over
the Steiner brothers were in the wrong decade to be compared to these guys. If you put the Steiners in their prime, like full-on tag team Steiner brothers, against these guys, I think they absolutely hold their own. Scott Steiner came up with the fucking Frankensteiner. I mean, he stole it from Japan, but whatever.
The Steiners would destroy either of these teams at any point in their career.
See, again, if you're talking legit fight, that's one thing. I'm saying booked well, and the Hardys and the Bucks and the Steiners could have a phenomenal matchup because they all have their own unique styles. Yes, the Hardys and the Bucks are more high-flying, and the Steiners are much more grounded, but Scotty Steiner could fly.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So
they redefined tag team wrestling.
Right. So that's what I'm saying is they're legendary. No question. But once Scott broke away from Rick, they never tagged again.
Right.
And so
they did a couple times.
Whatever. I mean, it was nothing.
They didn't. They were never like champions again. They were never.
So they never really had that late term legendary tag team status run that the Bucks and the Hardys have.
Rick fell off, and Scotty extended his career with the giant physique and the ridiculous coked out interviews. So
I mean, Scott Steiner did become his own meme and will live on well past his actual career and legend is the Steiner math. It just will never disappear because it's gone into the cultural zeitgeist. You don't even have to be a wrestling fan to know the 33 and a half into 33 chance into whatever the hell it was. So,
right.
Anyway,
so Bucks Hardys, there were some concerns going into this. Both teams had a lot of ring rust, especially from the tag team perspective. I looked it up, and I believe Excalibur mentioned this was the Bucks. This was only the Bucks' 4th tag team match in the last year. Which is crazy since they've mostly been in 6-mans.
Yep.
And then the Hardys, I looked it up, and I think they've only been in 2 since Jeff's DWI incident. So you have two teams that have had a combined total of 5 matches in the last year. So I thought, given that, and given how botchy Jeff Hardy's been since his return to AEW in general, I thought it was going to be a sloppy match, but it was a crisp match. It was a good match. And I thought it was fine. I thought that the people shitting all over the match, saying, it's got a low rating on Cage Match, and people are saying, "Oh, this should have been so much better between these two legendary teams," and it's like, guys, this isn't Prime Bucks versus Prime Hardys. Like,
no.
You can't expect them to go out there and have a 6-star match.
By no means nobody.
It's fine for a TV match when these two teams are going out there to shake off some ring rust, and they're setting up Bucks to challenge FTR.
Yeah, so, the Bucks are young. The Bucks are younger, but they're by no means young.
You could say Nick is young, and I think Nick is in great shape still. Like, Nick is as good as he's ever been. I would say Nick is in his prime right now, but Matt's not. I mean, and it's mostly because Matt's arm's fucked up.
Yeah.
He could say it isn't, and he went and he did all that stem cell therapy, and he's fine. Why is he wearing a big ass brace on the arm that's like 4 times the size of his arm? And then he's wearing a brace on the other arm now to kind of disguise that, to make it look like it's part of his outfit. But so I don't think Matt is anywhere close to 100%. And I think there's a chance that after this match with FTR and All In, All Out, that he might end up having to get that surgery. He might be out for a while.
I think it's probably best if he does. But, tag team matches, what you can do is you can actually cover. I mean, generally you could work less in a tag match. That's always been the ways to be able to protect somebody who maybe is limited because of injury or skill set or what have you. And Nick certainly could fill a lot of the tag gap, but is it worth it? Yes, they're making their big return to tag, but at the same time, they could also just, let Nick do solo stuff. Wouldn't that?
I think Nick would be great if Matt does have to go out and get surgery, if he's going to be out for 9 months or something like that.
Right.
I think Nick would be fine on his own. They could put him in a TNT title picture, or he could have a run similar to OC. I mean, he's an excellent wrestler. So
yeah, international championship that Orange Cassidy has, Nick could easily have just as good a run. I agree, because he is phenomenal. I've always said the way he moves in and out of the ring, his poetry, he's fluid, and that always impresses me.
I think he would need to add a little something to get to OC's level, just because OC's so versatile with his gimmick, and OC has more ways to get the crowd involved in the match. So I think Nick would need to come up with something to be on Orange's level. But from a technical standpoint and an athletic standpoint, I think Nick is right on par with them. So
fair enough. I agree. Nick doesn't have his individual character to the same level OC does. As a tag team, he and Matt obviously can connect with fans, and they've been doing so for decades. So that's not in question. But his solo ability is it makes sense. He hasn't had as much experience.
So back to the match. Matt goes for a twist of fate. The Young Bucks hit stereo super kicks and finish it off with the BTE trigger to get the win. And then after the match, the team shake hands, and then the Young Bucks call out FTR. So FTR comes out, and the FTR. So you got Dax Harwood, who's been bitching about the Young Bucks for 2 years.
Right.
Shirt on, 2 years ago, so they get their chance to square off in the ring against the Bucks, and what does FTR say? Absolutely nothing. They just hold the belts up, turn around, and walk gingerly out of the ring. It's like, how is that hyping up a match? It's like these guys can't even get into a mic battle. We don't get a beatdown. We just have them raise the belts. Like,
well, he got to say the Bucks got to say All In.
They did.
What more do you want?
They got to say All In. They got 2 words in.
Hey, FTR got to show up in the ring. That's more than a lot of women get.
That's true.
So, I mean, what are we bitching about? So, let's face it, Dynamite has had some issues when you compare it to Collision. And the fact is, that's good. Because now we have an example of something that maybe isn't getting the same ratings because of the night it's on, but the quality and consistency is there. And at least Dynamite could look at it and go, oh, hey, maybe we could be a little more consistent or higher quality or whatever the fuck. But, yeah, Young Bucks got to say All In. Yay, this is their show. They don't even get to go on Collision. Sometimes they even get to go on Rampage and talk. But is it their choice? Do you think they choose not to talk? I know they talked about once where they never get to say anything. Eddie Kingston said something similar, where he's like, I don't get to say anything. They get a minute and a half in the ring. So there's something backstage about who gets to do what segments. I would think the Bucks would be able to do more.
You've joked on BTE about it, about not being able to have the mic. Hey, I gotta grab a charger for my laptop here, so I will be back in just a second. So if you want to talk about the AEW the women's bracket that was announced after this match, take it away, and I will join back in like 1 minute.
Oh, sure. Let's go ahead and talk about that women's championship, because those brackets that were announced included the actual champion, Shida, who had to wrestle for a spot in this championship bracket. However, Toni Storm, because she invoked her rematch clause, had the ability to have a bye and didn't have to wrestle for her spot. Now, somehow, the champion having to wrestle for her spot and the challenger not having to wrestle for her spot doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Now, Excalibur did explain that the tournament started tonight, and it was for somebody who's going to challenge for the women's championship that Shida herself already holds. So she is in the tournament. If she wins, does she face herself? I'm not exactly sure, but that's what was the stakes for tonight's match. Maybe not for the title. It's hard to know. They didn't really tell us. But Shida, the champion, was wrestling in a bracket for the chance to challenge for her own title. And so other people were involved. The Bunny taking on Britt Baker next week. Toni Storm got a bye, which makes great sense. And, of course, Saraya gets to go against Sky Blue on Rampage. So all of those will join Toni Storm in a four-way match for the title at All In for the Women's Championship that Shida already holds and had to win a match to get involved in a title match. So,
Scott, just to jump in here real quick. So this is a new work laptop, and I don't think I have the right charger for it.
Huh. What you're saying is your laptop is about to die.
Yeah, so I need to grab another laptop. So I will be right back.
So you talked about the women's championship bracket.
I certainly did, yes. How Shida has to challenge for a slot in a bracket for the title that she holds at the pay-per-view that her challenger gets a bye for. I'm not even sure why. I'm not even sure how that makes sense.
So what do you think the match at All In is going to be? Shida against?
No, they said it's going to be a four-way match at All In.
Oh, that's right. 4-way.
And it's Anna Jay who Shida wrestled for the one slot, and then Saraya versus Sky Blue on Rampage, then Bunny versus Britt Baker on Dynamite, and then Toni Storm got an automatic bye into the four-way match at All In.
That's right. She exercised her rematch clause. So
for the title that Shida has.
Right.
That Shida had to wrestle for. That Shida had to wrestle in a match to qualify to wrestle for her own title at the pay-per-view. But her challenger didn't.
Yeah.
Make that make sense. Make that make sense to me.
Such is the power of the rematch clause. It's a very powerful thing.
Oh, The rematch clause has the power. I got it. That makes sense now.
Unless you're the Acclaimed. The Acclaimed didn't get they never had a rematch against the Guns.
And they never will.
Unless you're Hangman, he never got a rematch against Punk, and he definitely never will.
He never will.
No. I think even if the Bucks and Punk and all their shit, they work all that out, Hangman's never fighting Punk again. That's just not going to happen.
No. Punk doesn't want to be injured forever.
He doesn't want to get a high chop,
right.
because it's just too much, and he doesn't want to have to try another buckshot.
Right.
He'll probably break his ankle in the process.
He doesn't want to get chopped in the throat because it's illegal and it's wrong, and he works with children.
Yeah.
Anyway.
He can't run a target. And God forbid we have, athleticism in a match. It's too much of a requirement for certain people. So.
Well, if it's too athletic, he gets hurt.
Right. So off we go to MJF and Adam Cole, the bro down. They go to a trampoline place, and MJF just starts taking out kids with a dodgeball. So it kind of brought back memories. We were in like this Boy Scout / stockade thing where, you would go and play games and stuff. Every once in a while, the counselors would get involved, and they would play dodgeball too. So there was this one older guy who was like, I don't know, he was a pretty big dude, and he was supposed to be one of the leaders helping out. But for some reason, this guy would get real aggressive playing dodgeball with the kids, and he started taking kids out. Two kids, one kid got hit in the head, and his head hit the wall, and he whipped it at this kid. And the kid ended up having to leave, having to go home. And then he hurt another kid. And they finally told the guy, look, dude, you can't play anymore. And the guy was all upset. He's like, what? I throw underhand.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, why are you playing a game against kids? What the hell's wrong with you? So anyhow, MJF throwing the dodgeball at the kids, I thought was pretty funny. Reminded me of that dude that I probably would have never done again for the rest of my life, but here we are.
Right. And the best part was at the end, when the little girl got mouthy to him, which, by the way, I believe that was Christian's daughter. Christian's daughter was also the one that Jungle Boy grabbed last week.
Yep.
So that interaction with the crowd that he did was with a wrestler's daughter. So that's why he knew it would be okay to interact with her like that.
Right.
You got to love that fact.
She's gotten more TV time on Dynamite and Collision than 75% of AEW's roster. That was her third appearance in 3 shows.
And she actually got to speak against her father.
That's right.
I mean, she had a better role. She had the ability to speak. That's better than Chris Statlander half the time.
And more words than the Bucks are allowed to get in.
That's true. She had more promo time than the fucking Bucks.
There we go. Who's she fighting it all in?
Probably Billy Starks. I mean,
poor Billy.
It's probably Billy's got to do the honors. Got to take the loss.
So,
Christian's daughter's not going to lose in her debut.
So the segment ends, and we go into the FTW Championship, and I will let you talk about your favorite entrance.
Absolutely.
Who's your favorite wrestler?
Absolutely.
I'll let you take this away.
So my favorite entrance, by all means, was Jack Perry with his now public domain, Beethoven's Fifth, because we all know Tony bought the rights perpetual forever for his Tarzan Boy thing. Now he's never going to use it again. So he has to use something that's public domain. So he gets Beethoven's Fifth. He doesn't even get a remix. Mikey Ruckus could not be hired for $50 to remake Beethoven's Fifth a little bit. It was a straight rendition, probably off the Wiki Commons. He gets no money for his entrance anymore. Versus, of course, Rob Van Dam. Not only did he get to come out to Pantera Walk, which I fucking love, because Pantera is badass, but because it was a callback to ECW, because that really is about respect. It's literally in the lyrics a lot. And so when Rob Van Dam comes out to it, you do respect him because of what he's done, because of what he can still do at 51. Not only did he have an amazing entrance, he had a pretty goddamn good match for 51. I thought his frog splash was pretty amazing. He always sells. I mean, it was a great 4-star frog splash by far. Maybe not 5-star anymore, but a solid 4.5. His Rolling Thunder, he struggled, but he got it. He shouldn't try it too often, and I don't think he will, but he hit all of his normal sort of spots. He did the floating chair drop kick thing, all sorts of classic Rob Van Dam stuff. There's no way he's doing Van Terminator, though. He's not doing it. He's not.
Not.
He's not going corner to corner. He could barely do the frog splash. He's just not. He's far too big now. He's no longer slim. He's in his 50s. He's put on the dad bod. It happens to us all. And he's just not as flexible. You could see it when he did his split-legged moonsault. You could see it when he did the 5-star frog splash. He's not quite as limber as he used to be. For God's sake, he's 53 or 2 or whatever. He's the same age or right around the same age as me. So I couldn't do even a quarter of what Rob Van Dam still does. And oh yeah, Jack Perry was in the match and he won. Rob Van Dam lost.
Yeah, I thought RVD looked good. Again, loved the entrance. It just brought back a lot of memories. Crowd was pretty hot for RVD's entrance too, which was nice. A nice big pop there. Christian winning. RVD had the match won. Of course, the referee bumped, so you didn't get the win. And then
Perry. Yeah.
Perry with the low blow and the roll up for the win. It got a lot of heat on Jungle Boy, and we'll see. I'm hoping that they bring in another ECW legend or something. I think it's kind of a cool angle to do with the FTW title. Keeps things fresh.
Yeah.
It does take opportunity away from other people on the roster, but at the same time,
the FTW title needs that.
So,
it's not even an official title for AEW. So bringing in ECW old champions to come in and lose, I don't think is a problem. They could bring in anybody who's one of the ECW legends, have a good match with Jack Perry, just like RVD, and I think nobody loses, especially if it's a one-time thing, because whoever's next as FTW champion, as long as Perry can maintain that level of prestige, they get the rub. That's the entire point of building the belt up. So I think anybody who's complaining about some of these legends coming in and outperforming some of these kids, they need to shut the hell up, watch, listen, and learn.
That's right.
And get off my lawn, you kids. Shakes his fist at the clouds.
So up next, we had the Lucha Brothers responding to the Blackpool Combat Club. Abrahani showed the symbol and talked about that. I don't think anybody really cared. So that was supposed to hype up the match a little bit. And then we had MJF and Adam Cole come out.
Which by far is the most entertaining thing of the night.
Yeah, it's definitely the most entertaining thing on Dynamite. By far, they are the hottest thing in AEW at the moment.
Yeah.
If other wrestlers in the company were allowed to have like real programs, like if FTR and the Young Bucks were allowed to actually like build up their match, that maybe that would be hotter, but we don't know because they're not allowed to build it up on Dynamite.
That's true.
Because we need to have a 20-minute Chris Jericho segment. So we got to keep our priorities straight. So Cole and MJF started getting a little nasty, and MJF took the shot at Cole, the crack about, it was something along the lines of Adam Cole is so white and pale that Hogan would roll him up and snort him, something like that.
If this were the 80s, Hogan would have snorted him already. Yeah, it was a pretty good one.
I thought I almost died when I heard that. I could not believe that happened.
I happen to like the fact that MJF immediately thought, "Oh, this is a promo battle," and he just went for the throat. And he just went right at it. And Cole, he's like, "No, that's not what this is about. Settle down."
Right.
He took the shots and just had to settle. I thought it was great. Max is playing this character better than anybody in the company plays theirs. He's so good and versatile and able to play against everyone.
Yeah, he's amazing. The only thing that he can't do is have a good match against Brian Pillman. So.
No, that's because Pillman sucks. That's
Sorry,
I mean,
Brian,
he was a fucking vacuum. He was a charisma vacuum. He was a match vacuum. MJF insulted his fucking mother, and nobody cared about the match.
Yeah, I mean that was MJF's only miss, and it wasn't his fault. So.
He unloaded. It's literally the vortex around Pillman that nobody gave a fuck.
Well, Pillman couldn't get the fame. Pillman didn't care enough to actually show some charisma. But anyhow,
he's moved on to another company. Let's see how Pillman Jr. does with the big boys. He's never getting out. He's never getting out of NXT.
I don't even know if he'll be on TV in NXT. So I mean, I know he was there, but
well, they're still technically having a hiring freeze. Not the point.
Yeah. So back to MJF and Cole. He asked if Cole is some kind of a pervert, so the fans started chanting pervert. And then MJF brings up the ROH tag titles held by Aussie Open. So
I like that angle. I like this angle. I do.
Think it's brilliant. I think it's one of the most brilliant angles like I've ever. Depending how they play it, I think it's one of the most brilliant angles I've ever seen. It's just so unexpected. It explains why I was befuddled by the ROH titles being on Dynamite 200 last week. I was kind of pissed off about it. Now it makes sense. They had to basically introduce these titles and make them relevant so that Cole and MJF could challenge for them at All In, which is going to help set up the main event between Cole and MJF. So I don't know what's going to happen there. They could win the belts, and then the champions would have to fight each other, or one of them could turn on the other one during the tag match.
Here's the best part is nobody knows. But realistically, they should not lose against Aussie Open. Aussie Open is ROH level talent. Cole and MJF are literally headlining All In. There's no way those two should lose that match, which means what sort of shenanigans are going to happen? Is MJF going to weaken Adam Cole by making him do all the work? Is vice versa going to happen? Is the Kingdom going to get involved? Is Roddy Strong going to get involved? Are Aussie Open going to do anything at all with Don Callis? Is that going to be the big swerve? Is Callis and Jericho and those guys get involved? And who knows?
Here's another possibility: is Cole mentioned Red Dragon?
Yeah.
During the very promo, is Red Dragon going to come out?
I sincerely doubt Bobby Fish comes back to AEW.
I don't see Fish coming back, but it would be hilarious and interesting if Tony decides to capitalize on those memes and everything.
Oh, God.
And Punk's not too pissed about Fish no selling, they go to sleep.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, if Cole brings Roddy and Red Dragon out to beat up MJF in that match and weaken him for the main event, and that lets Aussie Open pin MJF, like that's no strike against MJF that he loses to basically 6 guys.
Right.
Or if the same thing happens to Cole, like maybe Roddy turns on Cole and teams up with MJF. I'm thinking since Roddy is so anti-MJF, I'm thinking that might be the likely thing that happens is Roddy ends up turning on Cole. But at the same time, I don't
want heel MJF.
Right.
Because he's teased face MJF Right now, he could literally be the most popular person in wrestling, not just AEW. Because the tribal chief is out. So there's a void, right?
Right.
And so MJF could take that step as a popular babyface that people just adore. And Adam Cole could just go back to being evil, mean, vicious Adam Cole, reform with some sort of group, and still fail to beat MJF for the title. Or beat him for the title, and then MJF is in the chase. And it's always better when the babyface is in the chase for the championship. That could be an amazing end to the summer. After All In, just go through All Out, go through next pay-per-view, and just build the shit out of it. I don't even know what the next pay-per-view is. It's Summerfest, who knows? And
Full Gear.
Full Gear. And maybe that would be, the Full Gear would be MJF versus Cole, with his full faction and MJF full baby face going to get his title back. That could be interesting as fuck.
It could.
So,
And then we have CM Punk as the X Factor with the new Real World title. Is that going to be, title's going to be unified at All Out? Some type of match in Chicago following All In? Or are they going to have to keep the two titles, on each show have their own?
They got to keep them separate. They got to keep them separate for a while. They just brought it out. He just introduced it. Collision just started. Give it a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
It cannot happen at All In or All Out. In no way. Maybe Full Gear, but even that seems like it's too quick. Give it a couple years.
I think if it was going to happen at All Out, MJF would have at least acknowledged it, but he hasn't acknowledged it at all. So there's zero build at this point. So
Yeah.
I don't see it happening.
I seriously, why not have it? Like, WWE had two world champions. It wasn't the identical belt, one with an X and one normal, but one was the world title and one was the WWE title or whatever. They did that till they fucking unified it, and then now he's still called the unified champion, but they have a new world's champion. So why the fuck not have two titles on AEW? At least it makes sense the way they did it on this show.
Right.
So,
right.
I personally, I'm gonna love All In, All Out. I have no idea. They haven't done anything for it. We just barely know some of the matches for All In. We haven't had any of the stunt casting we expected. Haven't had any big names. Sting retirement match, Goldberg match. None of that crap. Wardlow's disappeared.
Right.
So
because he lost his passport. So
yeah, well, no way is he going against Goldberg at All In now.
No, that would have been pushed.
That would have been talked about a little bit. So, yes, Tony wants to bring in Goldberg for something big like All In. Would be an international superstar type name. Who the fuck would Goldberg wrestle for it to be relevant? Right. And when do you announce it? A day before? You got a week and a half left or whatever. This is the weirdest build for the biggest fucking show I've ever heard of. It makes no sense.
Right.
Only Tony could get away with it.
Yeah, it's like we already know the main event for WrestleMania next year. It's going to be Cody versus Roman in Philly. And it's like we know these main events for WWE a year out. And in AEW, we know a couple of weeks out. So.
Which is kind of the opposite of the way it used to be. AEW used to have it like you knew the build, you knew everyone going into it. You were like, yeah, we're ready for it. Now, All In threw a wrench. All In, if not for that, it would have just been the normal build to All Out, which probably would have been just fine. But now you got to turn right around right after the last pay-per-view. Now you come right into All In, and then literally a week later for All Out. So it's not on purpose. They didn't schedule it that way on purpose. They did what they could, and Wembley magically sold as much as it fucking did, thank God. And All Out is in Chicago, and Punk is going to be there. They're fine. They're going to sell that one out.
I'll be there, too. So with the Elite Mark Order podcast co-host there's going to be a big draw.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know people will be coming out to see me. Maybe I'll do a live podcast from StarCast.
Well, you know what would be cool would be if you could somehow talk to any wrestler, get anything recorded, even just a bumper of them saying the Elite Mark Order podcast would be gold.
Yeah, we could do that on Cameo too.
Well, yeah, but we could pay them, but fuck that.
Right. Yeah, but you're right. Yeah, we could do it for free during a meet and greet.
Well, if you do it with the
we gotta pay for the
video,
meet and greet.
right. But if you do it with a video, it's a lot more legit than doing like you standing next to them or something with a sign that's as opposed to them at home with no makeup or whatever. Leave our order. Yeah, bullshit. Fuck that.
Right.
Anyways.
All right.
So I agree. I think the ROH tag titles now suddenly make sense as to why they were introduced last week, and this is finally a good build up towards the biggest pay-per-view of all time.
Yeah. All right, moving on to Blackpool versus the Lucha Brothers. Wild Thing played. We had a pretty crazy match. It was. I'm kind of grasping at straws to remember exactly how the match went. There was a bunch of good spots. I remember at the end they took Penta's mask off. You couldn't really tell. I thought Phoenix broke his leg the way he did a flip off the apron to the outside and was holding his knee. It looked pretty bad, but thank God he was fine. They don't need to lose Phoenix right now.
No.
And then PCC got the win by taking the mask off. And where do we go from here? I don't know who the Lucha Brothers are going to fight. And once the match ended, they started beating on Penta some more, and that was pretty much it. I mean, BCC just walked out as the victors, and I think we might be getting Mox versus Orange Cassidy, because there's still bad blood between the Best Friends and the BCC. I don't know where it leaves the Lucha Brothers though. They'll do something. Maybe they'll fight the Guns. Maybe I don't know.
Here's my fantasy book for All In. Orange Cassidy versus John Moxley versus Penta. Penta's pissed off at Moxley for the mask thing.
Right.
Orange is still pissed off at Mox for the Best Friend stuff. Mox just fucking loves a fight. A three-way match, because it's basically no DQ, would be a fantastic... I mean, we know Penta can get crazy. We know Mox is the innovator of violence, the priest of violence. I don't know. I'm gonna have to come up with a name for him. He just loves violence. He's a bloody mess every match. And Orange Cassidy, who can match any style. We haven't seen a whole lot of hardcore from him, have we? Maybe we get a hardcore match.
A three-way does let Mox face OC for the title without Mox having to lose or Orange having to lose. So Orange could beat Penta, and these guys could be protected going on into All In, and they're out. So, but Mox winning the title would be interesting. I mean, he's certainly a good representative if he even wants that title.
Well, and I'm saying have that at All In, and then All Out. Whoever the winner is, they have just like their establishment championship match. Like the rematch against OC or whatever if he loses. And then they just destroy OC because he's still so broken down. But he's not the champion, so he has to lose on his way out. That's normal booking. But I think it would be really cool if Penta got it because that's a singles title. And showcasing the Lucha Brothers as a singles doesn't happen much. I agree. And he's international, so... Again, you have that international flavor. Have him go and defend it like crazy down in Mexico. Do a AAA, round or whatever. On the other hand, if you have Mox win, he goes to places like he can't anymore go to GCW, but he can go to some of these other indie places as the international champion and beat the hell out of some of those guys. So. I know it hasn't been happening with Orange. He's been doing all of his work on camera. I think if you give it to Penta or if you give it to Mox, you could go out and do some work with other companies and help establish some of those other companies a little stronger. Do some work for the community.
Right. Right. Yeah, I do think that would be an interesting three-way. So we move on from there to Kenny Omega walking around. For some reason, Kenny's walking with a suitcase in the middle of the show, dressed in street clothes.
He showed up late.
And
He's an
Marvin,
EVP. He doesn't have to show up on time.
Marvin has asked him what he's doing, and he says, "Oh, I'm going to have a sit down with Jim Ross next week." So that's all we get from Kenny. I just don't understand how one of the top guys in the company is not used in a program here. I mean, we know that this stuff has been going on with Kalis and Takeshita, and it was super hot like 4 or 5 weeks ago, and they haven't done shit with it since the Blood and Guts match, which now is what? That was 3 weeks ago now, and like they just haven't done anything with it. And next week, it's a sit down with JR, so I don't think too much is going to happen there. That'll give us 1 week for Kenny Omega to actually like be on TV again before the pay-per-view. Maybe he's nursing an injury. I don't know. It certainly wouldn't be surprising.
But
So
no.
the latest rumors I've heard on this from Wrestling Observer and Dave Meltzer is that Kenny and Takeshita will not fight at All In a singles match. They will be fighting it All Out in a singles match, which I was excited to hear because I'm going to be at All Out.
Right.
So I'd love to see the singles match.
That's good for you, absolutely, and good for people in Chicago getting to see a great match.
Yeah.
But
It's not good for the 90,000 people at Wembley who wanted to see a Kenny Omega singles match. I would imagine a lot of people are going to be pissed about that. So the rumored match at All In right now is Omega and Adam Page and Kota Ibushi versus Takeshita, Jay White, and Juice Robinson.
That makes
So there's been absolutely no build for that. It doesn't make sense. It would be cool to see. I'd love to see it, but it's just a shame like that doesn't have any build. And if there's no stipulations or anything like elimination or anything, it's just
just
another
a six-
trios match. It
yeah.
doesn't mean anything.
and trios don't draw. As much as Tony loves them, they really haven't drawn much. They just haven't done it. So
Right.
I wouldn't want to see that at All In. I wouldn't. I mean, I would enjoy the match, yes, and it would be great. You know, they don't have to work that hard in a trios match. That's one of the advantages.
That trios match would be a great setup on Dynamite the week before the pay-per-view to set up two bigger matches. You know,
That's fair.
How about I don't know. I mean, like the Golden Lovers versus a top tag team. You know, Kenny and Ibushi would be good. Like, I don't know, maybe it'll be the Golden Lovers versus Takeshita and Jericho would make sense. But then they're saying Jericho is going to fight Ospreay. So
Yeah,
I don't
but
know.
who the fuck
I don't know.
knows? They haven't done. They've really not done a great build for the biggest pay-per-view in all time, which I thought was amazing marketing to begin with. I thought they were gonna release a couple of big matches and just be like, "Yeah, hype the shit out." People are still going. It's still hyped. It's still gonna get the buys, but they haven't done shit to build it. They really haven't, and it's just strange. So I think maybe Tony's just stretched thin. Maybe he's finally reached his limit, and they need to fill in some bureaucracy, some levels of help and management to take the load off a little bit, so that maybe he can focus on whatever he needs to focus on more. But this ain't it.
Yeah, and I think he needs to take Jericho's guaranteed 20-minute time slot every week, which lately has been god awful. I think they need to take that time slot away and give it to more exciting wrestlers, so that Tony can use that time to actually build matches for his pay-per-views. So
It'd be nice. Speaking of,
all right,
how about the Mogul Embassy?
Mogul Embassy. So to make a long story short, we get Sting and Darby squaring off against Big Swerve and AR Fox. And their Sting came out. Tony Schiavone got to scream, "It's Sting!" Sting beat up everyone with the bat, and that's what we're getting. Next week, and I can't remember the trios match off the top of my head, but I know Nick Wayne is going to be. It'll be a tag match next week. Nick Wayne and Darby are teaming together
Yeah.
against Swerve and Fox. I think that might be it. I don't remember for sure.
It might be the big guys. It might be the Samoan guys from the Mobile.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they'll be fighting the Samoans. And then no Keith Lee. I don't
Still.
know. I guess. Yeah, so Keith Lee and Swerve are not getting their match at All In like some people suggested.
Or if it does, it's out of the fucking blue because that doesn't seem to be what they're building.
Well, they've announced the match for All In.
Oh, there you go.
Sting and Darby against Swerve and Fox.
Oh, that is All In. I hadn't noticed. No, bummer.
Yeah, that is announced. That's official for All In. So
That's,
let me just verify.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. All In, Sting and Darby against.
So maybe Keith Lee's hurt.
Well,
it's the only reason that they wouldn't. I don't know.
Is it?
Is it? Yeah.
Again, Keith Lee's over 250 pounds. So is Wardlow. So is Miro. And these guys are Tony can't book big.
Where is Miro? He was supposed to be on Collision, right? He was supposed to be on Collision. Supposed to be one of the big names on Collision. We've seen Punk and we've seen FTR constantly. Where the fuck is Miro?
We've been asking that question ever since Miro lost to Sammy Guevara in Rochester.
It's true.
The U.S. title to him, and that U.S. title reign ended. So,
I might be switching from JJ for life to Miro for life soon. I may have to. Miro needs some support at this point. It's so bizarre that he's not able to be used more. Maybe he's just a pain in the ass behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Maybe he's just a big pain in the ass.
Could be not liking creative, having to lose battle royals. I don't know if there's truth to that stuff, but he's like, I'm not going to be in a battle royal unless I win it. So I'll sit at home for 6 months. Fuck you.
He also had issues where he didn't like working with Lana and what's his name, the big strong guy over in WWE. Why can't I think of his name? No.
The Dwayne Johnson?
Yeah.
Miro was pissed at
Dwayne
Johnson.
No, it was the Lana. It was the Lana marriage. Who the fuck was she supposed to marry?
Was it Mark Henry?
Oh, wait,
no, that was Mae Young. That was Mae Young and Mark Henry. I'm sorry.
You are and I'm the stoner.
Easily confused.
Yeah, well, that is true.
Lana and Mae.
Lana and Mae, yeah, that's exactly what it was. Yeah. Lana was marrying Mae Young, so that's totally when Rusev got mad because Lana was making out with Mae Young in the back. Which makes more sense than Ahmed Johnson or Mark Henry. I can't think of the fucking wrestler's name. That's what I get for smoking. Don't do drugs, kids.
Yeah, I don't remember the angle. I just remember Dwayne Johnson made an appearance on Raw or SmackDown or whatever, and he basically went around and trashed the whole roster as he normally does, which is great for helping build up your other talent, by the way. But anyhow, Rock made a bunch of comments to Lana, some of which were inappropriate, talking about their previous relationships while Miro wasn't around. And apparently there was some heat in real life. Miro did not approve of those things that The Rock said to Lana. So Miro seems to not get along with with management, with leadership.
Well, here's the thing. So I looked it up here real quick. Miro had a love triangle with Lana and Dolph Ziggler.
Dolph Ziggler.
And that one blew up because Miro and Lana got married in real life and posted it on Instagram. And it blew the angle up and it crashed and burned and they never talked about it ever again. And then there was also a love triangle with Miro, Lana, and Bobby Lashley. That's the guy I was trying to think of.
I remember
Bobby Lashley. And so that's just Vince, like, I can't, and he said it before, I can't believe Lana's with Miro. And so he never booked them ever together. He kept booking love triangles. Miro was pissed all the time because of those angles. Yeah. I can't say I blame him for that.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
But then he goes to AEW and now he also has backstage issues. Where's the real problem?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I said when Miro showed up in AEW was, I hope things work out for him.
Yeah.
Because he's a badass. But if the first thing he does when he's handed a mic is bitch about WWE not doing things right for him and not doing his merch right and not booking him right, I was just like, how long is this guy going to be happy in AEW? Like, the first time he has to lose, he's gonna fucking lose it, and that's exactly, at least from my perspective, what most likely has happened and why he hasn't been on TV 99% of the time, because he doesn't like how he's being used. So
I agree. There seems to be some component of backstage issue with Miro, unfortunately.
Oh, I was going to say regarding the love triangle, with Ziggler, maybe we could get an angle. If Tony was smart, he could book Hollywood Hunk, Ziggler's brother, in a love triangle with Lana and Miro. Maybe he could coax Lana out of retirement. I'm sure Miro would love that. You could put Hollywood Hunk over Miro a couple times.
I think that'd be good shit, pal. That'd be such good shit, pal.
Miro would love it. I can tell you right now, he'd be all for it.
He would. I don't even think he would talk about it on Twitch. As a matter of fact, I don't think he does Twitch anymore, which is weird because he was super popular on Twitch for a while, and then he just stopped.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. So, hey, there was a main event, wasn't there?
Yeah, something about Sheeta.
And Anna Jay.
And Anna. Anna!
And they were wrestling for a slot for the pay-per-view.
And also the title was on the line.
For a title that she'd already had.
So Anna Jay could have won the title and gone into All In for the title. So would she ever have actually really been the champion? So,
I mean,
even though they would have just said it was vacated for the 4-way.
No. What they're saying is that Thunder Rosa's going to come back, and she's going to claim the real women's championship, and she's going to start calling Sheeta the interim champion.
She could spray an X through it.
Well, that doesn't make sense for her. She has to do like half a skull face.
There we go.
Or something.
Half the Darby. Yeah.
Well, she does her own. She does her own Dia de la Muerte half makeup. So her and Darby together make a full skull.
That's right.
I don't know what's up with the half makeup, but they both have it.
I expected them to be like. I thought like if AEW ever got serious with their, what's it called? Their mixed gender matches, that Darby and Thunder Rosa would have made a good team. Going against Kenny and Riho, and Miro and Lana, and Punk and AJ. Like you could have a killer tournament with that.
And Sammy and Tay.
Seriously, you do it 8.
Oh, and Britt and Cole.
Yep.
Wow, that's like serious talent. Couple of those.
We got Anna
and Jungle Boy. Anna. Oh, Sean Dean, or what's his name? No.
Yeah, it's Sky Blue. Yep.
Yeah, they could actually get some attention, maybe.
So, do you think that dude Phony that was in the AEW Games chat that was all in the Sky Blue? Do you think that might have been Dean?
The amount of obsession, that Phony had, I think it might be a really, really good chance that he was in the AEW Discord and that it was actually Sean Dean. It makes sense. Sean Dean's not doing much other than Sky Blue.
Right. And that's plenty. I mean, that's... it
would keep me active.
Yeah. It's pretty full life.
So, hey, Sheeta won. Did you know that Sheeta won?
She did.
For her.
She did. I like where we were going with this, the mixed tag match tournament. I think John Silver could tag with... John Silver could tag with legit Layla Hirsch.
I knew you were going there just because they're small. Man, that's just fucked up. That is heightism. That is heightism.
No, dude, I'm just saying, short but deadly. They'd be killer team. I always thought they did a couple of segments together on BTE, and I always thought Silver and Layla were hilarious together.
They probably would be. So what you're saying then is Malachi and Abaddon.
that could work.
Or of course, Malachi and Julia.
Yeah.
Which makes more
Julia
sense.
Will lead Lee Johnson, right?
Oh yeah, that's true.
Or
So it'd have to be Julia and Lee, and then you get Abaddon and Malachi, because Malachi's real wife is still somehow still in WWE, even though she really shouldn't have resigned. But who knows at this point?
And the
Would
big
she
shocker of all
would she have done any better in the women's division in AEW? Probably not.
Right. And then the big surprise out of all of it, Andrade and his wife surprise everyone and go on to win this tournament.
Jose?
No, Andrade's wife, Charlotte.
Oh, I thought he was married to Jose.
Could you? Well, Jose, the assistant, he may have replaced Charlotte with Jose.
That's what I'm
Which
saying.
would probably not be the best idea, but no, Charlotte and Andrade would be the team to beat. Like, they would be, my money would be on them for sure.
Well, Charlotte can't show up because that name is not legal. However, Ashley Flair,
Yeah.
or whatever her real name is, Flair Hold or Flair Wright or Reed Hold or whatever
I
it
mean,
is.
there's always the option where Charlotte could wear a mask and be like the Flair machine,
That
and Vince wouldn't know.
that would actually she could show up as the Queen Machine.
The Queen machine. I love it.
And she can have like a bee mask, and sort of mixed in, like a bee mask mixed in with the super machine or the machine, and she could be the bee machine. And then Andrade could just wear a mask because he got it back.
Yeah, he won the mask back. He couldn't just buy another one. He won.
Right? No, he couldn't buy a new one. He had to have his old one back. It's the same as Penta. You steal his mask, he's going to get it back from you. So there's going to be a way for Penta to get the mask back. And maybe Rey Fenix has to wrestle Claudio for it at All In.
There we go.
There you go.
So Nyla Rose is going to team with who?
Who else? Serpentico.
Serpentico. There you go.
I mean, she would throw him around, and he's used to it.
He likes it when Luther does it.
Oh, yeah. This is probably much more interesting than the women's division, to be quite honest.
It was definitely more interesting than talking about that Sheeta Anna Jay match, which wasn't bad. It was fine. I like both competitors, but we all knew Sheeta was going to win. We all thought Sheeta was going to lose last week, and she, won, which was shocking. I did not see Sheeta winning, but Tony was just trying to inject anything into the women's division after he finally accepted the fact that Mercedes or Sasha Banks and Jamie Hayter are unavailable for All In, which is just a horrible tragedy.
It is
for Tony. It's really devastating. It's like losing Hogan and Andre before WrestleMania 3.
I mean, realistically, Hayter Mercedes would have been a marquee event.
It would have.
It really,
Maybe not
really
Hogan
would have.
Andre level, but relatively to the women's division, that was the biggest.
Mercedes was the biggest name.
Mercedes versus Hayter at Wembley in front of 80,000. That was the biggest possible match you could have for the women's division.
Mercedes was the biggest name in women's wrestling when she left. She had such a buzz when she showed up in Japan. She continued that buzz. She was doing a great job with, just wrestling different places. And then she had a freak fucking accident so bad that she wasn't able to do what they were going to do, which would have been much more interesting in AEW. And, she still could have been signed to Japan and worked AEW. We've seen it enough. It wouldn't have been a big deal.
Absolutely. And Jamie Hayter was
at
hottest thing going in the women's division.
She was.
Possibly ever. Like, she was super over.
Yep.
And she's so cool. I've talked on the show before about how cool she was when I was meeting her.
Yeah.
It's really devastating. And she said when I met her, she's like, "Oh, I'd love to fight. I'd love to fight Mercedes at All In. That would be incredible."
We all wanted it. We all wanted it.
It's really too bad.
Yeah.
And so instead, Tony's inability to pivot just pisses everyone off. And here we are. And hey, I could give him points for at least shaking things up. At least we're not going in there with fucking Tony Storm with the title against someone where the Outcasts are just going to interfere and Tony Storm retains. You know, he has mixed it up with the 4-way. So,
And we are getting a 4-way match that is full of people that are interesting. If Saraya loses and Sky Blue goes in, that would be interesting. If Saraya stays, she's probably going to stay. She gets to have her big. She gets to have her big all-in match in front of her home crowd in England. She's
possibly winning the title.
She's going in the match. I hope to God she doesn't win the title, though.
And that explains why why they made Storm drop the title, because they didn't want Saraya beating one of her Outcast friends.
I hope you're wrong.
For the title.
I really
She's going to beat Shida for the title.
I
think
really-
she does. I think she does.
I really hope you're wrong that Sheeta, that Saraya loses. Or I just don't want Saraya to win. I like her as a person. I like her as a wrestler. She needs a lot of work. She is not championship material. Not right now.
I agree with that completely. It would be, you know, from a like technical wrestling standpoint, but I think she can get heat still. I'm just curious. The thing is with Shida as champion, Shida retaining, like she's just been so absent from the show. You know, if I look up Dynamite,
No, she hasn't had a lot of matches. You're right. She hasn't been on Dynamite much because the women barely get any opportunity, and if you're not the champion, you're not on TV. And she wasn't the champion.
she has been since October of 2022. She was on once in December, once in May, once in June, and twice this month. And now she's a champion again. It's just, that's why I'm not interested. That's why I'm not vested, I should
Right,
say.
vested.
I like Sheeta, but I'm not vested in Sheeta. I don't really feel like expanding the effort to cheer her when she's never fucking used on TV, and she's just going to go away again after she loses the belt to someone at all in. So that's why it's like I didn't care about the main event, and I didn't care too much that she won last week because this is just a placeholder. So
It feels, unfortunately, very much like a placeholder title run. And that the women's title, they put her on last. They gave her main event. They're trying. I don't know. That's just. I just keep hoping.
holy fuck, one of those, and Sheeta wasn't even on Dynamite in June. She was in a dark match, and it was a 3-way between Emi Sakura and Mei Suruga from Choco Pro, which I would fucking pay to see that match, and I didn't even know what happened.
Yeah,
That
because it
match
was
had to
dark.
fucking be- That match had to be fucking incredible, and it's not available anywhere. I don't know that it ever will be. So
Nope.
that's really too bad.
Well, I mean, it's a
It's
good
like
thing
that-
for the live. They got to see it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, the ones that weren't getting beers and
All right.
working
Well,
their way to the seats. So,
I think it's time to wrap this bad boy up.
all right. Last thing I want to talk about before we wrap it up is we got a big trios match coming up
Do we?
on Saturday on Collision. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
House of Black is-
CMFDR versus House of Black. That's true.
Yeah. What's your take on that?
Well, I really hope that it's a matter of trying to elevate House of Black. However, the concept of a 3-man power trip of CMFTR running roughshod over Collision, holding the tag belts, the Real World's title, the trios belts. I'm kind of intrigued by that. A super faction, as it were. So I doubt it'll happen, but it would be interesting if it did. It won't. House of Black should retain. It should be a good match. What's the stipulation? You know,
We were talking about this in chat. It was fun.
this is the one that I think would be the best. The best stipulation would be House of Black have to fight with one hand tied behind their back. That's almost a guaranteed win. Or House of Black can't have Brody Lee. Not Brody Lee.
Right.
Brody King.
Yep.
Because they did it with Julia. They could just ban Brody. So, what about you?
I think, FTR is no stranger to holding multiple titles.
True.
They had the ROH titles, the New Japan, the AAA all at the same time. for some reason, that wasn't enough to elevate their status to get a tag team title shot in AEW at the time, where they could have been the holders of 4 different tag team titles, which would have been the pinnacle that any team has ever gotten to in tag team wrestling.
That's probably why they didn't get to.
I think the issue was they were not willing to extend their contract with AEW at the time. They waited.
They did.
Had they signed it, had they extended sooner, Tony may have said, all right, here you go. We'll give you all 4 belts.
Maybe.
And I wonder if Tony was kind of dangling that in front of him. Like, hey, if you guys sign, I'll give you that title. But they're like, no, we gotta think about it. We gotta like pretend we might go to WWE so you give us more money. But anyhow, back to the main event on Collision. Samoa Joe said, Punk, if you don't give me an answer, I'm going to force you to give me an answer next week. So Samoa Joe is going to come out, cost CMFTR the match. Samoa Joe will fight CM Punk at All In is what I think is going to happen. House of Black retains, and I'm not sure who House of Black will fight at
All In.
All In. I don't know if there's any other trios that are being built up right now. I can't think of any offhand.
I can't think of any good ones.
Right. Or even bad ones that have been getting wins. I mean, I would say, Billy Gunn and the Acclaim would have been, great for the show because they would have been super over with the crowd. But I don't know who the Acclaim is going to fight at All In. Maybe they'll find someone else to challenge House of Black. I don't know. So I also don't think that House of Black would be cool with losing the titles, because I think we're in another situation where if Malachi Black doesn't get what he wants, he puts his ball away and goes home.
That's we all know Toxic Collision's full of that. It's an entire show just for those guys.
Right.
And by the way, collision means division. Punk the other day showed up with "I'm a collision guy." That's how division starts, claiming a side. I'm better than you. Our side's better than your side. Our show's better than your show. I just prefer Collision. I'm a Collision guy.
There's no team in Collision, just a bunch of eyes.
Yeah, that's perfect. Toxic Collision. Collision means division. So that's... All right, I'm good to go. I think we're done here. How about you?
All right, man. Yeah, it was fun. Thank you for everyone for dealing with the delays and the technical difficulties. Those may or may not be included in the...
Oh, they'll be edited the fuck right out.
All right. All right, man. JJ for life.
Fantastic. JJ for life.